Know that the Lord, he is God. You are not. He is God. It is he who made us. We are his. We are his people and the sheep of his pasture. Enter his gates with thanksgiving, his courts with praise. Give thanks to him. Bless his name. Why? Why does any of this make sense? The Lord is good. His steadfast love endures forever, and his faithfulness to all generations. Joy is not because I can make everything right in my life and that all the different pieces of my life are just working out for me right now. That's so fleeting. It's so temporary. This is why James would call our life a mist. It's like our life is just, it's a mist. But the cynic in me, who wants to just be a realist, will never experience joy if it's based on circumstances, because circumstances are never going to be the way I want them to be. And so how do you not be some, naive, happy person or some dour cynic? You focus on the goodness of God. You're so immersed in God's goodness, his steadfast love, and his faithfulness that whatever situation you're in is not controlling you. You can trust God. And many times that will impact the situation you're in. But even if it doesn't, God's still good. And it's this one story that I think should elevate our perspective above all of what it means in the darkest of night to have joy. When you look at the story, you have a tyrant Caesar on the other part of the world decides to renegotiate taxes by doing a census. You know why they did census in the ancient world? It wasn't so that they knew how many people there were. It's so that they knew how many people they could tax. So a corrupt taxation system, wink, wink, and a tyrant leader on the other side of the world with a stroke of pen or whatever they did to, send the Census Bureau out, makes this decision, and this nobody couple on the backside of the world in the sticks, literally, Nazareth is the sticks. It's stick town. That's what it means. You didn't know that? Nazareth is stick town. It comes from a root word, stick. It's the sticks. So a corrupt leader who wants more taxes signs a decree, and this nobody young couple from Sticktown is affected by this with a unique pregnancy that no one understands. Most people, come on. Immaculate conception, give me a break. That's how most people are responding. Even Joseph, being a good man, wasn't sure about this. And it took an angel to change his mind. And so she's pregnant, and they got to go 70, 80 miles, I think. It took about 10 days to get from Sticktown to the family of origin town, Bethlehem. And while she's there, she gives birth. And all these little subtle clues, swaddling clothes, which is for animals, and lays them in a manger, which is a feeding trough for animals, because there was no place for them in the inn. Boy, is that statement packed. There's nowhere to stay, and they have to stay in a stable. There's no room for them in the inn. Herod, there's no room for another king in Herod's kingdom. And so there's so many relations I see to us. Like, we get so busy and so caught up in our own agenda that we don't have any room for Jesus. When we start saying, like, I don't have time to pray. I don't have time to go to church. I don't have time. I don't know how you have time to knock out all the different seasons of whatever show you're watching and not have time for the Lord. I would say that that's probably more of a statement of priority than time. But that's it. Like, part of the reason why you don't have joy, part of the reason why I don't have joy is I'm just too busy to pay attention. I'm too distracted on trying to chase fleeting pleasures instead of being patient long enough to receive what Jesus has. But, that's a different sermon. And then, she gives birth to Jesus. And the scene with the shepherds, again, there's so many layers to these things. I don't have time to, you can trace a lot of these. Shepherds, not only were they nobodies, they were also very suspect. Like a shepherd's word was not counted as credible in court because they were nomads. They would go from place to place. They weren't trusted and their word wasn't trusted. And so you've got these nobodies that the first announcement of the birth of Christ is given to. It wasn't to kings in palaces. It wasn't even to the religious hierarchy in the holy place, the temple. It was to suspect nobodies in a field. And the announcement is, don't be afraid. I bring you good news. Good news of great joy. And what is that news? Unto you is born this day in the city of David a Savior who is Christ the Lord. That news is just as relevant to you and me today as it was to them. We're not privy to what happens in, political courts. And many times we just feel the impact, some positive, a lot of negative, of decisions that's made on the other side of the country and sometimes decisions made on the other side of the world. You and I have no control over. We have no say in. We don't even know what happens until it's already happened. And we're negatively affected by it. And it causes us to have to make changes and redo our budgets and all that, just because someone in another place makes some decision. And yet, even in that dark place, in that dark night, this is not a good time in human history, by the way. The incarnation takes place. And our salvation is not a policy from government. Our salvation is not a philosophy in ivory towers. Our salvation came in a person, Jesus Christ, who came to the lowly. Think about this. The God of the universe came to the lowliest of the low. Born in a stable whose crib was a feeding trough. To the poorest of the poor in the backside of the world.
Hey, if you enjoyed this clip of the message and you want to listen to the full thing, hit the link below and it'll send you right over. Thanks for watching.